The morning sun floated gently across the wide city skyline as if it had no idea that someone's entire life was about to break apart. On the busy sidewalk below, employees hurried through the glass doors of Hartwell Industries, unaware that behind one of those polished doors, a grown man, a man known for power, wealth, and absolute control, was curled in the corner of his own office, trembling like a small child who had nowhere left to hide. The sound of slow footsteps echoed closer, and each step made his chest tighten until the CEO, Adrian Hartwell, the man feared by every employee, lifted his face streaked with tears and whispered through shaking lips, "Please, don't hit me." But the man stepping inside wasn't a threat. He was a single dad earning minimum wage. His name was Marcus Hale, and he had no idea his next decision would rewrite two lives forever. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Chronicles. It truly helps stories like this reach more hearts. Marcus had come to the skyscraper on the brightest afternoon of his week, hoping for nothing more than a temporary job. He didn't own fancy clothes, just a faded blue shirt and a pair of worn shoes, but he carried the quiet strength of someone who had survived too much to be afraid of anything ordinary. Life had not been gentle with him. He had lost his wife, Serena, 4 years earlier in a sudden medical complication, leaving him alone to raise their daughter, Isla, who was barely 5 then. Since that day, Marcus had bounced from job to job: delivery driver, warehouse loader, construction helper, anything that paid enough to keep her in school and food on the table. He worked under the bright sun, the dusty heat, and sometimes in the rain, constantly praying that she never felt the heaviness he carried behind his smile. When Hartwell Industries posted an opening for a building maintenance position, Marcus applied immediately. He didn't dream big anymore, he only dreamed responsibly. A stable job with daytime hours meant he could pick Isla up from school instead of leaving her with neighbors who watched her half-heartedly. He walked into the building with a small hope tucked inside his chest. Maybe this time life would finally give him a chance that didn't turn into smoke. He expected paperwork, interviews, or maybe a long wait in a cold hallway. What he didn't expect was the receptionist rushing to him in a panic, eyes wide, voice quivering as she whispered that the CEO was having an episode. She didn't explain further, just begged Marcus to help because he was the only male staff nearby, and she was afraid to go alone. Marcus didn't understand what she meant, but he followed her because that was what he always did. He helped. Even when he didn't have much, helping came naturally to him. When they reached the top floor office, the wide glass windows were pouring warm daylight across a room scattered with toppled papers, a broken mug, and a man who looked nothing like the ruthless leader employees whispered about. Adrian Hartwell was curled against a bookshelf, shielding his face with both hands. His breathing was frantic, shallow, painful to hear. And when his eyes lifted toward Marcus, he looked not like a CEO, but like a terrified child. The words slipped out without his permission, fragile and aching. "Please, don't hit me." Marcus froze. The receptionist froze. For a silent second, the whole world stood still. Then Marcus stepped forward, slowly, gently, raising both hands to show he meant no harm. His voice softened into the tone he used when Isla woke up trembling from nightmares. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. "You're safe. I promise." Adrian blinked hard, confusion breaking through the fog of panic. The receptionist stepped out to call for help, leaving Marcus alone with the trembling CEO. The sunlight glimmered across Adrian's desk, throwing long shadows that swayed as the afternoon breeze moved the curtains. Marcus sat down on the floor a few feet away, enough distance to keep Adrian comfortable. He didn't ask questions, he simply waited. Sometimes silence is the safest bridge between two wounded people. After several long minutes, Adrian's breathing grew steadier. The harsh tension in his shoulders softened into exhaustion, and he finally managed to ask, Why are you still here?" Marcus looked at him with a steady kindness that came from living through storms. Because nobody deserves to face their worst moment alone. Something inside Adrian cracked open, something he had spent decades burying behind wealth, confidence, and authority. He pressed the heel of his hand to his eyes. He apologized repeatedly, embarrassed, ashamed. Marcus simply shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. Everyone breaks sometimes." It took hours before the company's counselor arrived. Adrian, exhausted, asked Marcus quietly if he could stay until he felt stable enough to speak. Marcus did. He stayed without expecting gratitude or reward. He stayed because pain recognizes pain, even when it is wearing an expensive suit. The next morning, Marcus assumed the strange encounter was behind him. He didn't expect a call from the CEO's personal assistant asking him to come to the top floor again. He didn't expect Adrian to be standing there, dressed perfectly, looking calm but carrying an unfamiliar softness. "You could have walked away yesterday," Adrian said. "You could have judged me or used my moment of weakness against me. Instead, you showed me more compassion than anyone in my entire life." Marcus didn't know what to say. He wasn't used to powerful people speaking to him like that, Adrian continued, voice low. "When you walked into that room, I was reliving something from my childhood. My father," he paused, swallowing back the sting of the memory. "He didn't believe in mistakes. Or mercy. Yesterday, when the mug fell from my desk and crashed, something in me went back there." Marcus felt his throat tighten. He understood trauma and how it lingered like a shadow that refused to leave. Then Adrian said something that shifted Marcus's entire future. "You came here to apply for a job, right? Consider it yours. Effective immediately. But not just the maintenance position." He looked Marcus directly in the eyes. "I want you on my personal staff. Someone I can trust. Someone who grounds this place with humanity." Marcus blinked, stunned. He had walked into the building hoping for a paycheck. He was now being offered a life-changing opportunity. Working closely with Adrian revealed a side no employee had ever seen. Adrian, for all his wealth and authority, lived every day running from the bruises of his childhood. He feared disappointing people, feared loud arguments, feared the echo of slammed doors. And Marcus became the quiet presence that steadied that fear, not because Adrian was weak, but because he was healing. Their unlikely bond deepened beyond professional lines. Adrian visited Marcus's modest apartment to help him fix a broken fan. He met Isla, who immediately adored the man with the nervous smile and fancy watch. Adrian was shocked by how warmly Marcus's home felt, not because it was luxurious, but because love lived there in worn blankets, in second-hand furniture, in drawings taped crookedly on the walls. Isla, bright-eyed and cheerful, showed Adrian her schoolbooks and proudly explained how her dad always helped her with math even when he came home tired. Adrian watched Marcus listening to his daughter with absolute attention, and somewhere deep inside, a longing he never acknowledged surfaced, the longing to belong to a place where kindness wasn't earned, but given freely. As weeks passed, the office environment changed too. The CEO who once inspired fear now inspired openness. Marcus quietly encouraged Adrian to treat employees with patience, to speak with softness, to replace anger with understanding. And slowly, Adrian began to heal not just himself but also the culture of his entire company. Sunlight seemed brighter inside Hartwell Industries these days. People smiled more easily. The building felt human again, but change rarely comes without resistance. One afternoon, during a routine meeting, one of the senior managers made a sharp, condescending remark toward a young intern. The sound of his raised voice echoed sharply in the glass room, and Adrian froze. The sudden tone had triggered something inside him again, that invisible panic, that old fear. He felt his breath shorten. His vision clouded. Marcus rushed in the moment he saw Adrian step back, gripping the edge of the table. Without hesitation, he positioned himself between Adrian and the source of the trigger. The room fell silent. "Lower your voice," Marcus said quietly to the manager. "No one here is going to be spoken to like that." The intern looked stunned. The manager stepped back, embarrassed. And Adrian, breathing slowly, found strength again through the steady presence beside him. After the meeting, when the sun was shining brightly across the office windows, Adrian whispered, "You saved me again." Marcus smiled. "No. You're saving yourself. I'm just reminding you that you're not alone." Life moved forward in gentle rhythms after that. Adrian began therapy. He began talking openly about mental health in his company, turning his own vulnerability into a powerful example for people who suffered in silence for years. Marcus's salary increased, allowing him to move to a safer neighborhood for Isla. And Isla, lively, innocent, full of hope, told everyone her dad worked for the nicest rich man in the world. Adrian laughed every time she said that. One bright afternoon, on Isla's 8th birthday, Adrian surprised her with a small picnic in the city park. The day was warm, the sky soft blue, and children ran across the grassy fields.